In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the scanner class. There are a number of ways to do input and output within a computer, and with Java, there are also a number of ways. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about the scanner class. There are a number of ways to do input and output with Java, and the first and most basic is using the output console window, which we have been previously using when we did system.out.printlines. lines. And what we can do is we can allow the computer to wait for us to type something back after we see an output. And to do that, we're going to use the scanner class. Just like with other classes that we've learned about in Java, we need to possibly import the package, and we have to construct an object and then use methods to interact with that object. So the scanner class is used to read and input material into Java. We can use this a lot of ways. We can have user input, which we're going to do today from the keyboard. We can scan in from text files, which we'll do later in the next week or two. And essentially, this allows our program to be more interactive, which we want to have. The first thing that we need to make the scanner class work is to import our package. Now, you can either do java.util.scanner and you can import just the class, or you can import the whole package with java.util.asterisk. It just depends on what your needs are. After we have done the import statement, we need to create a scanner object. Now, we saw similar syntax when we were working with the random class. If you call with our random class, we had random rnd equals new random. And when we did this line of code, that told me the class name. This right here was my variable name. New told the computer I was making a new object. And random with the parentheses was the constructor call. We see similar syntax here with this code. So first we see scanner, which is the class name. Then we see keyboard, which is the variable name. The word new, which tells me I'm making a new object. And then I see my constructor call. Now notice that this constructor call has an input parameter. Our random class did not have an input parameter. What this input parameter does is it tells us where I am going to be scanning from. So sometimes we'll be scanning from a file, and in that case, our input parameter will be a new file. In this case, we are going to use system.in. Now you will recall from when we do output to the keyboard, we do system.out. I'm sorry, not to the keyboard, but to the console log. So essentially here, system.in gets information that you type into the keyboard, and then system.out displays information to the user. Now there are a ton of methods that we can use. The one that I'm going to use in this example is nextInt. And what that does is that scans and waits for the user to enter an integer and press enter. Let's take a look at an example of the code. So what we see here is first we want to notice the import statement up top. Again, I only needed the scanner class, so that's the only one that I imported. I have my main method, which just allows me to run and execute a simple program. And what I'm going to do here is I first create a variable called string, a string variable called message, and this message variable will hold whatever the user types into the keyboard. Next, I create the new scanner object. So I say I want to create an object of the scanner class. I give it a variable name. I call new. I say new, and then I call the constructor, and then I tell it what type of scanner object I'm going to create. Next, we see the system.out, and this allows me to print a prompt to the user. And then now, at this point, the computer is just waiting. It is waiting for you to do something, and it won't do anything until we hit enter. Okay, so this command right here, next line, is essentially waiting for you to type something. Now we saw on the previous slide, the one that I had used here was nextInt. Well, these different methods are telling us what I am expecting. So here, if I'm asking somebody for their nickname, having them enter or expecting an integer doesn't exactly make sense. So next line takes all of the code that they type in and then goes ahead and saves it into the variable message. And then now, after we take that information and we save it in a variable, we can now do another print statement to the user, and we can insert what they entered into that output stream. Okay, so let's see how that's going to look. Open up BlueJ, let's put this code in there, and then we will run it. So I've opened up this code that we saw in our PowerPoint, and I'm going to run this method. So I run the main method, and I will see a prompt which tells me to enter my nickname. Now, if you look at the code, it looks exactly like what I see there. If you look down here in the lower right corner, you'll see this little blue bar moving back and forth, and that just tells you that the program is waiting. It's thinking and it's waiting for me to do something. You'll also notice that my cursor is down here in this window waiting for me to enter some data. So I just type in Dana, which I want to spell right, and hit enter. And then you'll notice that the data that I typed in is in a different color. And then here I see the output that I told it to do. So it took what I had and then it outputted it. You'll also notice that this little slider bar is not running anymore because it is done getting data. And if I were to run the same program with different input, it would do the same thing. It would just enter a different nickname in there. So let's say I ran this again and I said, hey, well, my nickname at home is Mom. So, hey, Mom, you are amazing. It's always nice when your kids tell you that. So go home and tell your mom she's amazing. All right. Have a great day. That is it.